Canada is furious and it is punching Donald Trump right where it hurts, right in the face. Prime Minister Carney attended that G20 summit in South Africa that Trump was too scared to show up to, where all of the world leaders, including Prime Minister Carney, locked the United States out of the closing ceremony when Trump was like, can I just send someone to show up to take the gavel because the United States is going to host the G20 in 2026? And all of the world leaders like, no, get the hell out of here. But let me show you what Prime Minister Carney did after the G20 wrapped up. He held this press conference where he was asked, so are you talking to Donald Trump about this or that? And Prime Minister Carney's like, I'm not talking to him, okay? Occasionally we talk. I'm busy. I'm focused on building Canada. I don't need that guy, okay? I don't sit around thinking, do I need to call Donald Trump? Canada is out there building one united Canada, building a stronger international relations. Play this clip right here of Carney. Let's play it.
We've had discussions. I've been busy. There's another point, though. I've been busy. We passed a budget with that's going to catalyze $1 trillion of investment. We have launched new trade agreements. We've secured new investment in the country of a size not seen arguably before. So we're busy. He's got other things to do, and we'll re-engage when it's appropriate.
And then Prime Minister Carney's asked again about this, and he's like, look, as I've said, I've got no burning desire to pick up the phone and talk to Donald Trump. Like, we don't need to do that right now, okay? When he wants to act like a big boy, if he wants to act like a grown-up, he can, but we're focused on Canada. Can you stop asking these questions and let's focus on what Canada is doing? Here, watch this.
I look forward to speaking to the president soon, but I don't have a burning issue to speak with the president about right now. When America wants to come back and have the discussions on the trade side, we will have those discussions. I'm going to answer a potential question here, and then I'll pass back, which is, for example, with respect to Ukraine and the 28-point plan. We are a core member of the Coalition of the Willing. You would have seen a demonstration of that yesterday with the meeting. European leaders, a core group of European leaders, the Prime Minister of Japan, ourselves, and which formed a common position. And that common position is communicated. Our national security advisors are meeting today in Geneva, including Canada's, and the common position communicated to do the additional work that's required on the peace plan there. Each of us do not need to call President Trump and communicate that position. We need to forge that position. That position's been communicated. The follow-up is being done by our national security advisors. I will be speaking with President Zelensky later today just to close the loop on some aspects of that. Okay.
Thanks. And then Prime Minister Carney lays out the values of Canada. And the question was about, well, could you ever see yourself, not working with the U.S. on anything ever again? And he's just like, look, can we talk about what our values are? And it was the perfect takedown of Trump and the U.S. without even having to mention Trump and the U.S. He's just like, with Europe, we share the same values when it comes to equality, LGBTQ rights, climate change, multilateralism. We get along and we figure out ways to trade together. And then with some other countries, it could just be more transactional. And he's putting the United States into that, there may be times where we have to work together, obviously, but we don't share the values with the United States. Just think about that. It was a takedown without even having to mention Trump's name. Here, play this clip.
There's levels of engagement with countries. Our partnership with the European Union, for example, is at a level prospectively that is unmatched with other jurisdictions because we have similar values in terms of privacy, for example. We have similar values in terms of sustainability. We have similar values in terms of workers' rights. We have similar values, to go to the previous question, in terms of gender equality, LGBTQ rights. And all of that reflects, so the level of economic cooperation, defense cooperation, security cooperation. We have similar views about territorial integrity in Ukraine as well. So our level of cooperation with the European Union with the United Kingdom is on a different level than our level of cooperation with other countries. So there's that aspect. Other countries in the emerging world where there's levels of cooperation which are more in commodity-based trade, goods and everyday goods and services, but don't extend to those broader partnerships. So all relationships are not equal, they're not of equal depth, and certainly it's not the case. This is an important point. When we engage with a country, Canada engages with a country, that we're endorsing everything that country does. The two do not follow. We calibrate our relationship, but it's not an endorsement of everything that happens in the country, nor vice versa from those countries to us.
And then Prime Minister Carney goes on to talk about how, for example, Canada is strengthening its relationship with India and Prime Minister Modi of India. And while the U.S. was like attacking Modi and the U.S. alienated India, Canada's like, great, we'll jump in. We'll become great trading partners with India. And yes, there are issues that India and Canada has had in the past, but they'll work through it together. Here, play this clip.
What we're looking to do is to put that on a sound footing through a potential trade agreement between the two countries, which give protections to our businesses, protections to Indian businesses, clear set of rules, dispute mechanisms, and others, and build on those opportunities. So we're looking to build. I'll reference as well, and then hand back for your three-part follow-up. We're looking to build, for example, as with the trilateral technology cooperation partnership that we announced yesterday with Australia and India. And just to put that in context, India is one of the leading developers of clean technology, particularly in solar and wind. And if we're going to diversify our supply chains, this is all, it's all connected. We're going to diversify in that respect from China, which is the dominant player there. India, South Korea are two of really the two main opportunities. So that cooperation is quite valuable.
Now, one of the things I think to note as well is that what Prime Minister Carney is doing certainly seems to be working. It kind of reminds me a bit of Mamdani showing up in the Oval Office when you stand up to Donald Trump and you punch him in the face and you call him a fascist and you call him a despot and you stand on it. Trump backs down to that. And like here, Prime Minister Carney is just saying, why do I need to talk to this guy? Well, who cares? Like, if he wants to get offended, let him get offended. And notice that after Donald Trump went on that temper tantrum after the ad from Ontario ran in the World Series, talking about how tariffs were hurting the United States and using Ronald Reagan's famous speech, Donald Trump's like, I'm raising the tariffs. I'm going after Canada. We hereby are talking. Remember, Trump said that he was going to raise the tariffs. So basically, the tariffs against Canada would have been 45%. But as Flavio Volpe says, we monitor the Federal Registry and follow executive order activity on a regular basis, and we haven't seen any changes. This is the president of Canada's automotive parts manufacturers, which controls over 90% of independent part production in Canada. So to date, Trump was all talk and never actually implemented those tariffs against Canada. And it was interesting because now this widely known Halifax a conference that was held by a bipartisan group of United States senators. You had like Angus King, an independent, Shaheen of New Hampshire. You had Kramer of North Dakota, rather there. So you had this group of bipartisan senators, and that's where they said that Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, said that the 28-point plan was actually from the Russians and not from the United States. So this conference got a lot of attention, right? But let me just show you here, because on a bipartisan basis, the senators, Democrats and Republicans, were there railing against Trump and basically saying these tariffs need to go. Like here, Senator Shaheen, here, play this clip.
And by the way, I also think we ought to urge the administration to take up USMCA, get this trade deal done so that we can stop the tariffs, because they are not only damaging your economy, they're damaging our economy. In New Hampshire, I can quote you business after business that I visited that has told me that the tariffs that have been invoked on Canada and what's happened with the relationship has been detrimental to their business, and it's affecting our economy. So I certainly share the view that we need to address this.
And here is Senator Kramer from North Dakota. This guy's a MAGA. This guy's a MAGA through and through. MAGA Republican Senator Kramer. And he talks about, he goes that even the MAGA Republicans like himself feel that there are too many cooks in the kitchen in the Trump administration. He says the regime, he says, I say the regime, he said administration. And he goes, you should notice that even the Trump regime realizes that the tariffs are inflationary and are hurting the United States, and that they're quietly rolling back the tariffs, tariff by tariff, because Trump recognizes that this was an utter failure. This is a MAGA Republican senator saying this. Here, play this clip.
All I can say is I stay in pretty regular contact with the administration on these things. I've been a little bit frustrated, as you have, by how many cooks are in that kitchen. But I do feel like it's becoming pretty clear to everybody. And by the way, if you hadn't noticed, the president has been taking down some tariffs, little by little, country by country. He is noticing the inflationary outcome of some of those specific tariffs. I happen to think that the softwood lumber, and Peter and I have talked somewhat about this, or Chris and I have talked somewhat about this. That's probably the most obvious next inflationary product, that because it gets into home building, and everybody needs a home, and our home builders need product, and it's becoming more and more inflationary. So I'm hopeful that the combination of all of those things.
You know, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm actually excited to do laundry now. Yeah, I said it. That's how obsessed I've become with laundry sauce. The smell is unreal. Hey, I've tried all the scents, but right now I am hooked on Himalayan cashmere. It's their newest launch, and honestly, it feels like wrapping yourself in a cashmere blanket fresh out of the dryer. It's this soft blend of airy florals, sweet pear, and warm amber with a base of creamy sandalwood and Himalayan musk. It's sophisticated, cozy, and totally addictive. And if you want something a little bolder, Australian sandalwood has that warm, rugged confidence, like your favorite white tea, that somehow makes you feel pulled together every single time. Or try French saffron. It's rich, vibrant, full of character with notes of saffron, cherry, and caramel. Whichever scent you choose, laundry sauce makes every wash feel like a 5-star experience. The pre-measured pods take out all the guesswork, and my clothes smell so good, people literally stop me and ask me what cologne I'm wearing. And I gotta say, it's just my laundry. This holiday season, turn your routine into a ritual with laundry sauce. During our Black Friday, Cyber Monday signature sale, you'll save up to 40%, get $75 in free gifts, and free shipping at laundrysauce.com/Meidas20. It's the perfect time to treat yourself or gift the world's most luxurious detergent to someone you love. That's laundrysauce.com/Meidas20, MEIDAS20.
And here he is again, asking about, he's being asked a question about the broader relationship between Canada and the United States, and the fact that Canadians hate America right now because they hate Donald Trump. I shouldn't say that. They hate Donald Trump, and when Donald Trump is running America, they don't want to be in America. That's a Trumpian America. To be fair, all the Canadians in Meidas Canada supporters, look, we love America. We love Americans, but not under Donald Trump. We hate that guy. We hate what he's doing to your country. So therefore, we're never going to be there. So anyway, here's what Senator Kramer says about that. Play this clip.
Earlier today, Senator King said that he had noticed that there had been a cultural break between Canadians and Americans. He said that Canadians now see Americans as adversaries. I'd like to ask you what you think about that, considering you border right on the Canadian.
Being aware that I'm standing right behind.
Yeah, behind is the important geographic situation. But so I think there's become a tension. I will tell you, and I've asked the ambassador this a couple of times. I will tell you that I think it's manifest largely in much less travel from Canada to the States for pleasure. In North Dakota, that happens to be shopping in the malls and staying in the hotels, buying lots of beer and groceries and other things. For Florida, it's you're going to the beach, and as it is for some of my colleagues up here. And those numbers are down because people are angry. They are bouncing back a little bit. I mean, I've talked to my tourism people in North Dakota. They're bouncing back a little bit. One thing about it, as winter comes on, I know a lot about the weather in Canada. It's a lot like North Dakota, and there's only one direction to go. And so I suspect that it probably won't keep some people from going to warmer weather. Having said that, it's such an unusual situation for us because, as Angus pointed out, I mean, and Peter, I mean, our relationship with Canadians is very, very personal, you know, in certain circumstances and in specific ways. I will say, though, at the same time, I've asked the ambassador this a couple of times. I might have even asked Prime Minister Carney. I don't quite understand why, I guess I don't offend that easily. Maybe that's the best way to put it. I don't offend that easily, so it's hard for me. It's why I'm so offensive, quite honestly, probably because I'm not sensitive. But the best way to fix this is to get back to the negotiating table and fix whatever it is that separates us on the trading table. Now, we know that of a couple of the high, softwood lumber, for example, and dairy, some of those sticking points, but there are a couple, maybe 4 dozen or more, what I'd consider small, non-tariff barrier nuisances. I just say, let's get back to that table and fix those things up. This is not a situation that can't be recovered. This is not a family breakup that's going to result in, in people hating each other. Both sides, I'm convinced, people in both countries are anxious to reunite, symbolically as well as literally. My uncle still comes down occasionally to North Dakota, and I get to see him just this last summer, in fact. So I suspect that's what Angus was speaking to, but I think I know what he's talking about, and we all sense it.
You know what, it should be noted, and I played this clip in another video as well. The United States under Donald Trump was the butt of all jokes, being mocked at this G20. You had Professor Jeffrey Sachs, for example, at the G20, mocking the United States under Donald Trump. Just think about that. That the United States, once the leader of the free world, is now a punchline in a joke for being weak and pathetic under Donald Trump. Remember, Trump's like, everyone's laughing at us before under Biden. No, they weren't. They respected us. Now they laughing at us because they laughing at you, idiot. Here, play this clip.
Why isn't Donald Trump coming tomorrow? Because he has a 4-year-old mentality, and he's having a tantrum. He's having a tantrum. What is the tantrum? That the rest of the world says, we don't want a king. As President Lula said, we don't need an emperor. He would come here as just one of 20 leaders or 21. He doesn't want that. He's having a tantrum. So this rebalancing is happening. He's having a particular tantrum, by the way, because the United States is in a deeply neurotic funk. You know what the cause of that neurosis is? China. A wonderful, brilliant civilization, 4,000 years old plus. It's been a unified state with brilliant statecraft for more than 2,000 years.
Now, I had Charlie Angus on recently, and Charlie Angus, I asked him about the tourism boycott by Canadians, and here's what Angus told me. Here, play this clip.
Well, this is an extraordinary week for where Canada is shifting in terms of pushing back against MAGA, which is falling more and more into chaos. The tourism numbers. Every article I've read on the tourism thing talks about Canada's uncertainty with the tariff wars. No, Canadians hate Donald Trump's guts. That's what you talk to any Canadian in any coffee shop across the country, they hate his guts. They see not going to the United States as an act of patriotism. It has nothing to do with, the dollar exchange and this is something that I think the U.S. Tourism industry is beginning to understand. They've talked about the disappearance of, if you break it down into simpler numbers or break it down further, 320,000 seats that would have had passengers gone, billions now gone, and it's not coming back. This is the month where the snowbirds, this is where the seniors go to Florida, they go to Arizona, Quebec. Huge exodus usually from Quebec goes down. They're not going. And you're seeing across the board, this isn't just one region of Canada standing up. This is Canadians everywhere. Again, from Quebec out to the West Coast, to the Maritimes, saying, we aren't going. And then where's the money going? Well, Air France, KLM Air France, which was, I guess, in a lot of financial difficulty, are saying they've got a 30% increase thanks to Canadian travel to Europe and European travel coming to Canada. So there's that.
And here's what Charlie Angus told me as well about Trump's Gatsby parties. Playing this clip.
Well, Donald, I think the whole world watched you and your grotesque Great Gatsby gathering with all these barely clad young women and creepy old men at the Mar-a-Lago Roach Motel where you live, and thought, this man doesn't care about his own people as people's food supports are being cut off. He doesn't care about his veterans. He doesn't care about anything except himself. And we look at you, Donald, and we see a diminished man. You're not a leader. Come on, Donald. You're just a creepy grifter. And you think that you could push us around? It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen, Donald. So we expect that you are going to start to do more erratic things as your numbers start to fall and more people turn against you. We expect that you will probably try and make us more of your enemy in order to divert attention from your own disgraceful and disgusting behavior. But whatever you do, Donald, Canada's moving on. Canada is looking at this in the long term. We're willing to suck up across party lines, across many different parts of our ideological spectrum, to put Canada first and do the right thing. So again, as Winston Churchill said to Hitler, you do your worst, sir. We expect it, but we will do our best, and we will always do our best.
And here's what Angus told me about, Canada even looking to strengthen its relationship with China, or viewing China as the same, if not even more reliable than the United States. And Charlie Angus, leader of Midas Canada, said that's saying something because of the history between China and Canada, that Canada now views China as more reliable than the U.S. Here, play this clip.
Well, let's talk critical minerals. The entire United States economy, I mean, the Silicon Valley economy, the economy that you need to build a 21st century economy is based on access to the critical minerals. Donald Trump announced that copper from Canada represented a national security threat. I mean, this cutting off and attacking the Canadian copper supply, he's not going to make America great in copper again, because it takes 15 to 20 years to get an American copper mine into production. Where Canada will send that copper, we're sending a lot of it right now to Asia. We've had very toxic relations with China. China controls the critical minerals market. They control the rare earths market. Canada is one of the few countries that can supply a number of these metals to either the United States or Europe. If we sign up with China, the Chinese economy is going to continue to grow. And what it will mean is that there will be a gate that China can close on the United States anytime they want in terms of access to the metals that are needed to run the whole Silicon Valley project. All of the American economic prospects are tied up in these metals. Canada has them, China has them. And with the increasingly belligerent behavior and insults that we're seeing in threat that's coming, it's not from Trump. It hasn't lessened, it's increased in many ways. So for us to start talking about this trade with China will have an enormous impact in the geopolitical world in the years to come.
Well, there you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. They weren't playing around, right? Angus isn't playing around. Carney ain't playing around. And those United States senators are scarred and pissed. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. Subscribe to Midas Canada also if you can.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to add the MeidasTouch podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for new updates every single day.